house guests, welcome to today's BB20 updates and spoilers. Our house guest today is Daniel Fernandez. Daniel, thank you so much for the support. We really appreciate it and think you're awesome. And if you guys want to be house guests today, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Alright, so yesterday, the house guests were waiting around for the Power Veto competition. They had it, and it was hosted by Bailey, and the players were Scotty, Brett, Winston, and 3 extras, Tyler, Rockstar, and Rachel. So it sounds like for this competition, they had to like spin around in circles. It was like a dizzy one, and then they had to like stack some cups or something, I want to say. I don't know for sure, but Scotty was the big winner. Not only did he win the Power Veto, but he also won a trip for 2 to Greece. What? Okay, so this is just like a dream of mine, but I feel like judging by their outfits for the competition, which were like these brightly colored, like ruffly linen shirt kind of things, I don't know. Do you think it was like a Mamma Mia 2 tie-in? That would just be everything. Oh my god, I would love that, but it probably wasn't. Because I feel like if it was a tie-in, they would all be like, oh, these people are going to see the movie, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't hear any talk of that, so maybe it's just me really excited for the movie. But it sounds like Brett could have won the competition, but he wasn't totally paying attention when they read the rules, and he blew it. Oops, yeah, that really sucks for him because he's on the block. Okay, so then after the competition, Brett and Winston were in the storage room strategizing because now they're like, oh crap, the person that put us up won the Power Veto. What are the chances that we're both going to make it out of this week alive? So Winston's brilliant idea is to go up to the HOH room at like 3 a.m. when everybody else is asleep, wake up Scotty, and pitch a final 3 deal. He'll never be able to resist it. They're gonna like lay out the strategic plan to make it to the end with him. So they're getting ready to do their prestige worldwide presentation. So Winston's like, Scotty doesn't have anybody right now, so he's just gonna like jump at the chance to work with us. Scotty's working with a bunch of people, but okay. And Winston says he has it in his back pocket that Scotty lied to his alliance last week and voted to keep Winston. That is true. He was wearing the swaggy C-shirt and everything. So, he's gonna tell Scotty, look, I know your secret, but I will shut up and not spread it if you use the veto on Brett and backdoor Caitlyn. And to make him, like, super mad at Caitlyn. I mean, not only did Caitlyn put him up as a pawn last week, but they're going to tell him, hey, Caitlyn was the one who flipped her vote on Steve. Which is true, but I feel like Scotty doesn't really care about that. He wants to split up the bros. I mean, yeah, I'm sure he cares about it, but that's not, like, his main priority here. So then Winston is like, oh, I think Scotty's gonna go for it because nobody would expect us 3 to work together. Number one, I would totally expect that to happen if he were to use the veto on one of them. It'd be super obvious that they were working together. Come on. Why else would he do that? And there's just no freaking way. There's no way that Scotty's gonna go along with this. So then as they're talking, Scotty comes into the storage room with the veto medallion, put it in there, and Winston's like, oh, congrats, man. Sorry for blowing up on you or whatever. Okay. And Scotty's like, it's all good. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Okay. So then meanwhile, everybody else, they're all trying to figure out which of the bros should go. You need 6 votes to stay this week, and it seems like the house is pretty almost evenly split again at this point, so it's just another exciting week, right? So Tyler and JC were chatting, and it seems like they could be the ones who really decide this week who's gonna go. So JC is like, first of all, I don't know how you deal with Caitlyn all day because she's a lot. And he says, I think you like her. Tyler says, no, I swear I don't. She's always initiating everything. She won't leave me alone. Alright, so then they talk about the vote this week, and JC is making the case that Brett should go. He's like, I can't believe I'm agreeing with Rockstar, but I see her point here. Brett's gotta go. He's a better competitor than Winston, so it's gonna be difficult to get rid of him later. He's so tight with all the girls. He's always giving everybody massages, and people like that. So we need to get rid of him while we have the chance. Also, they both agree that Winston's going to be easier to pull in because he doesn't have as many connections throughout the house, so Winston is more likely to be loyal to just them. Tyler agrees at this point. He's like, yeah, I see what you're saying. Brett should probably go. Interesting. So then Tyler, Casey, and Rachel were chatting in the lounge room. They're going through the pros and cons of the bros. They're saying Brett is a really good competitor. He could win competitions for us. But again, are we going to be able to take him out later? It's a double-edged sword. And then Winston, yes, he is a liability to our group. You never know when he's going to freak out on somebody. But that's also good for us because he's kind of like a shield. The other side's always going to want to take him out. Hopefully they'd go for him before us. So at this point, Rachel and Casey see more benefits to keeping Brett, and they feel like they should have the votes to pull it off. So then they start talking about next week's targets. Rachel thinks that they should go after Fessy and Scotty. Now, obviously a lot of people have been talking about how Rockstar's gotta go, especially Tyler, because he knows that Rockstar's coming after him. But Rachel's like, we don't need to worry about her for a while because she sucks. Like she said, she sucks at competitions. We don't, let's just relax. I think that Rockstar could be good in like the Q&A ones and the mental ones. She did pretty well in that last one. She was having a good time just laughing while this was all happening. But anyway, Rachel would like to see Scotty go before Fessy because she feels like he's a lot smarter. He's he's more difficult to sway than Fessy would be. I agree with that, for sure. You can see just this week how Scotty really stuck to his guns and put up the bros, even though people were like going in, being like, you should put up Rockstar. So it's definitely more difficult to sway him, and Rachel feels like she can use her womanly finesse to work on Fessy. She says, guys, I'm willing to make out with Fessy to get him to do what we want. Good luck! Alright, so anyway, I don't know if he would go for that, because isn't he like really into Haley? But maybe it is Fessy, so who knows. But anyway, after that, Tyler and Casey were chatting alone in the lounge room, and Casey is like, okay, it's probably best for Sam to not use her power this week, right? We should just let her save it. Tyler's like, yeah, I think so. He really wants to make sure they have that in their back pocket next week, because he's terrified that somebody like Rockstar, who like hates him, is gonna win and put him up, and then they're not gonna have that safety blanket anymore. So he does not want the power to be used on the bros right now. So then Tyler says, Caitlyn needs to go. They agree that they don't trust her. Tyler is like, yeah, I believe that Caitlyn will tell me what's on her mind, but I don't feel like I can share info with her. She is a loose cannon, and you never know who she's going to share info with, She's working both sides of the house, so he doesn't like that. And he's thinking, yeah, she's an asset to our group, but also she's trying really hard right now to get back in with her old alliance, and that is true. She's trying to get back in with Rockstar and Haley and Bailey, and like they notice that that's happening, but they're kind of like, I guess we could use her number for now. But earlier, Tyler was talking to Caitlyn, and he was asking her, if you were to win HOH, who would you put up? And she said like some combination of Angela, Casey, and Rachel. So even though she made that huge move and took out Swaggy, her own ally, it seems like she's thinking about going back to that group if they'll have her. Tyler does not like that because he is still very much with the level 6 crew. So Casey is like, yeah, Caitlyn follows the power. We gotta look out for her. And then Casey and Tyler talk about going to the end together. It seems like Tyler is trying to make his like backup plan here for when he jumps ship on Caitlyn. He's definitely really, really close to Casey and JC. Isn't that fun? But I think he's trying to distance himself from Caitlyn at this point. And they agree. They will never vote against each other. Aww. Alright, so then, just to take a quick look over at the Faute group, or Sacred Six, whatever you want to call it. I don't have like a ton of stuff on what they've been talking about, because, I mean, they're pretty solid in their thinking this week that Brett's got to go. But Bailey and Rockstar were chatting, and they're like, yeah, Brett's got to leave. He's the bigger threat. But then they start talking about next week, and Rockstar says if she wins HOH, she wants to put up Winston and Angela, but ultimately her goal is to try to backdoor Tyler. Oh, damn. So they're wondering if it was like Winston and Tyler, who would go. They're not totally sure. They're hoping that it would be Tyler. He is close with a lot of people, but he's also a much bigger threat. So maybe they're hoping that people will think, whoa, we got to get him out of here while we have the chance. It would be interesting to see what would happen there. All right, so then Brett was talking to Angela and Casey in the lounge room, and they're telling him, oh, you should have the numbers to stay this week. We've got you. So they're going through who they think they have. They're like, obviously the two of us, Rachel, and then they're counting like Tyler, Sam, and I think they were saying JC. We'll see about that, because JC has been very vocal about wanting Brett out this week, but I don't think they knew that at that point. So Brett is like, that's great. He just wants to be around to take out Rockstar, because she has wanted him out for personal reasons since day one. He doesn't like that, and he's like, if I win HOH, I'm going to put up Rockstar with a pawn, and if the opportunity arises, he will backdoor Fessy, but if not, just get Rockstar out of here, and then he'll be happy, and he's like, that's it for me. I don't need anything else after that. Damn. Alright, so then Tyler and JC check in again. They still agree, even after talks with other people, that Brett should go this week. And we see again, Tyler is now telling JC that he wants Caitlyn to go soon. Whoa. And he's like, yeah, before I convinced Caitlyn to take out Swaggy, she was dropping your name as a target. So that's not okay. She's got to go. They also don't want Caitlyn in the jury house because they feel like she's going to be a bitter juror and vote emotionally. And I'm sure it's like in Tyler's mind, I can't go to jury with Caitlyn. It's going to be a nightmare. She will never leave him alone, and there won't be cameras there to shame her, you know, to document it. All right, so anyway, JC is like, okay, great. This week we're going to go with the flow. We're going to take out Brett, and then maybe next week we can target Caitlyn or Rockstar. What? Okay, so then at midnight, the have-nots got to eat. Everybody was also celebrating Rachel's 30th birthday. Yay! Happy birthday! Bailey pulled her aside in the lounge room to give her this like birthday blessing prayer. It was really sweet. They were both super emotional and crying. It was a nice moment for them to share. Okay, so then it wasn't all just fun and games. Winston and Brett make their pitch to Scotty just before 1 a.m. They didn't wait until 3 like they were planning. So, okay. Winston is like, just before we get this started, I want you to know this is not just some last-ditch effort. This has been calculated since the afternoon that you nominated us. That sounds pretty last-ditch to me, right? Okay. So, Winston says, everybody knows, obviously, that I blew up on you after nominations, so it would make no sense for you to use the veto on me. But there is Brett, and this final 3 could really work. So then Brett takes over, because he is really nervous that somebody's going to walk in during this conversation, so he's like, we gotta hurry this along. Like, the whole time, he was like, alright, we don't have much time. So he feels like Winston's being a little wordy. He's gotta take over. So Brett is saying, no one would see this coming, nobody would see us working together, and you can come out of this week totally unscathed. He says, your side is still very upset about Caitlyn taking out Swaggy last week. So if you take one of us down and put up Caitlyn, both sides are going to be cool with you. I don't think so. I think both sides will be coming after him. But they're like, yeah, because you'll be taking one of us down, so our side will be happy. And then your side will be happy because you're getting redemption for Swaggy. So Winston starts laying out what an alliance with them would be like. He's saying, okay, so we don't talk to you in public. We use each other as pawns, and no one will know that we're working together. And my blow up with you was just like the perfect cover. It all works out. And he's saying, you are not going to be able to compete in the next HOH, but we will, and we have the numbers right now, so we can keep you safe. So then they're like, okay, thoughts? They want to know what Scotty thinks about their proposal. So Scotty's like, I've got a few issues here. He says, say we do make it to the final 3. Neither of you guys are going to choose me. You're going to take each other to the end. Valid point. I think that's true. So Winston's like, oh, well, it'll be every man for himself at that point. You're going to take each other, not him. Okay. So then Scotty's like, also, I don't know that this would lessen the blood on my hands, because I'm gonna be real with you, both sides were coming up to me and dropping your names and that you should go on the block. So yeah. Ooh. Also, Scotty does not feel comfortable being a pawn. He does not want to be a pawn again. He has now won 2 competitions, so there's a good chance that people are going to want to take him out, and there are definitely a ton of people who would vote Scotty out if he was up on the block again. So Winston's like, okay, fine, we don't have to do the pawn thing. It's all good. So Scotty promises that he'll sleep on it. I don't think so. That was a lame-ass pitch. He is not going to go for that. But anyway, today, Rockstar has really been making the rounds to campaign against Brett, and she's pissed that Caitlyn is considering keeping him. Caitlyn has been very wish-washy and back and forth, because before she was like, oh, we should keep Brett because he's cool with us. And then she was like, we should get rid of Brett because he's a threat. And now she's back to saying, like, I really like Brett. So who knows what Caitlyn's going to do. I think ultimately she'll probably do what Tyler tells her to, but we'll see. And then the have-nots for this week were determined. Apparently Brett became a have-not in the veto competition, so then it was up to Scotty to pick 3 others. They all volunteered, so Brett will be joined by Tyler, Sam, and Angela. And then other than that, I saw they were doing some meditation today. I think it's going to be a pretty chill day, probably, because the power veto ceremony is tomorrow. A lot of times Sundays can be a little crazy, because people are like, oh, who's going to, is this person going to use the veto or what? But I think it's pretty clear that Scotty will not be using the veto. But you never know. Something crazy could happen. So we'll see. Also, I don't think Haley's punishment has started yet. Not that I've seen anyway. So maybe that'll get going today. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. And until tomorrow, much love.